pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this beautiful day. Thank you for the people that are here with us, particularly the council people who sacrifice their time to do good things for our city. Please touch us with your love and hope. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Amen. Roll call.
Howard. Harville.
Here.
Elbert.
Here.
Venable. Davis.
Here.
Atkinson.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Meadows.
Here.
We have a quorum. Hearing of citizens' comments. Let's start with Matt.
Good evening. My name is Matt Sneringer. I am the CEO of the YMCA, and I'm just handing out, this is our July newsletter. I just wanted to give you guys a little, just an indication of some of the stuff that we do.
One more, thank you.
And I'll say that this is not as busy as we're in the summer months as we see in the fall and the winter months, but just a little indication. So for some of you that don't know me or not as familiar with the Y, let me give you a quick background. The Boone's Lake Heartland YMCA, Young Men's Christian Association, we're a nonprofit charitable organization. We've been in Boonville since 2000 at Kemper campus, and we've been serving the Cooper County. And actually, most people don't know this, we also serve Howard County as well. So we've been doing this since 2000. I've been here since the beginning of 2013 is when I came. So I've been here for just over 10 years. Our programs that we do are mainly youth development type programs, healthy living type programs, and then we get involved in what we call social responsibility. But for me, it's community support, outreach, and helping other organizations achieve their goals, especially if it aligns with our mission. So we get involved with the school district, with the city, with other organizations that, where we overlap on programs and such and services. So a couple of programs I wanted to mention just for your knowledge, if you haven't seen it before. Obviously we do our youth sports and we do some adult stuff for sports and fitness and wellness and things like that. We are the largest child care provider in Cooper County, obviously Howard County, and I would say several other counties around us. We serve approximately, and it varies from year to year, approximately 350 different families. That's just families, not kids. Obviously, some families have 2 or 3 kids in childcare. So the number of kids is well above that. And we serve those kids from infant up through primarily 5th grade. And then after 5th grade is when they age out of our programs. So that's one of the things that, since I've been here, that we focused on, is childcare in our communities. We also do, and this has kind of been on the down low, we do some older adult social activities at the Y now. It's been, I don't know, since more third-party health insurance has been getting involved, we've been reaching out and doing more of that stuff, which is a little newer for this Y. Otherwise, do it a lot more. We hadn't in the past, so this is something new for us, and we've been doing quite a bit of it lately. We also do free swim lessons for all 2nd graders in the school district in the month of April. So it's a coordinated program with the school district where we bus all the 2nd graders over and during their lunch hour, and they come in and we provide the staff and we go through water safety and swim lessons. And that's during the month of April. And I don't know if you guys have heard the team formal here that we do. That's a pretty big program. It often requires us getting police presence down there on 3rd Street, directing traffic and stuff like that, where we'll have about 300 to 400 teenagers dressed up in whatever theme we put on for that. Mardi Gras, I think, was the last one, or it changes from year to year. But And then we also, in the past, and we still do a food program. Any child that comes to the Y can get fed at lunch. During the summer, during our summer camp, Monday through Friday, we won't turn them away, or during the after-school program during the school year, if they come after school, they won't get turned away if they want food. Not a lot of kids take advantage of it for whatever reasons. There's various reasons, but it's there, and we do advertise it to those kids. But the last thing I'll leave with you, and this kind of surprised me, I was doing our annual report from, and this is a few years ago, I haven't looked at this number recently, but I was doing my annual report, and I just, by happenstance, I exported all the kids that we serve in the year of 2018, and it came to over 80% of our school district, K through 5th, has been to the Y. 80% from Hannah Cole, David Barton. And I assume St. Peter and Paul to some degree, because I can't actually know what school they attend, I just see their address. So if it's a Boonville address, I assume they go to school in Boonville. But 80%, so it was an impressive, it surprised me. I didn't know we actually touched the lives of that many kids in Boonville, but there we have it. Oh, and I wanted to mention this. I mentioned we serve Howard County, Cooper County. We started in Cooper County, we extended into Howard County. We have multiple facilities. Obviously, our primary facility is here in Boonville on 3rd Street, which is where all of our staff is and the bulk of our programs. We have a facility in Glasgow, Missouri. We received NAP credits for that. It was fully funded, and it is kind of like a small YMCA. We have a little health fitness center, a gym, do some aerobic classes, summer camp, stuff like that. We have the Early Childhood Learning Center, which is across from the old high school on Main Street. So the hospital closed down, it's across by those storages. That's a child care center, and that's where we serve infant through preschool. And that varies. We purchased that in 2017 and kept it going. And then we just recently purchased Excel Fitness Center. And that was our most recent purchase. So those are our facilities. Any questions for me?
You said you purchased what now? What did you purchase?
With the ECLC, the daycare center,
You said, yeah, daycare center. What else did you purchase?
Excel.
Excel.
Yep.
No questions? Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else that wanted to say something? Okay,
You got one more, Ned.
got one more. Come on up, introduce yourself, and tell us what you want to say.
Okay. I'm Bob Bolensteel, live right next to the high school. Enjoy the soccer festivities. We moved here in 1995. Have worked in the community. Was on the radio with Ted B. You might have heard our radio spot for 12 years or so. Have been given a piece of information and tried to contact several individuals within the water department. Unbeknownst to me, we put fluoride in our water. Okay? Now, fluoride is been an ongoing controversy for 70 years. 4 years after my birth, they began putting fluoride in our drinking water. Now, fluoride is it's a poison. It's also a toxic waste. Okay, I had information given to me. I researched this thoroughly, and the concern I have is that are we able to monitor our fluorine levels in the river before we add? 1 part per million is all the human body supposedly can ingest within a day's period. They have done studies where if 5 points per million are ingested consistently, that it has extremely dramatic results. If we're not able to monitor our water before adding the fluorine, how do we know how much fluorine we're actually giving to the public? There are so many products that are fluorine based. It's incredible. If you would look at a listing of how many products, especially in agriculture. Are we an agricultural community? Are we impacted then by the runoff due to the agricultural involvement? Fluoride is an enormous part of those programs. How much of that is impacting our water, and how much of that causes, used to be when I went to school, kid didn't behave, well, he stood outside. That's not what we do now. If he doesn't behave, what do? We drug him. And the reason he is not behaving is not all his own fault. Because anybody take a tube of toothpaste that has fluoride added to it, you will see a skull and crossbone on that tube of toothpaste due to the fact that fluorine has been added to the water. Okay? So add that then to your parts per million and everything else you're ingesting. So here's what, I am not trying to say anything about the water department. My son worked on the water department. Okay, Paul Bonans did. And the task that these people have is incredible. And they do an incredible job. I'm for them. But I would like to suggest that we research this a little more thoroughly, because we keep moving in the direction we're moving, and we're going to be over our 5 point per million tolerance, okay? I do have, for your perusal, here is 3 copies of the listings of cities all across the country that have said no more adding. It's not necessary, and it's not even mandatory. So just put these up here.
Yep, you can pass them right around.
There's 3 different copies, and so I think just out of absolute concern and prudence, if we would look at this situation a little more thoroughly, I think we might do like these cities have done and not put fluoride in our drinking water. It's not mandatory. It's not, and it actually does nothing to improve the quality of our drinking water. This was a program done for the kids' teeth. You remember? Look, Mom, no cavities. Well, we want that to continue, but if we go past a certain tolerance, it'll be, look, Mom, no teeth. Okay? We don't want that. So
Right.
if you could pass that information along, and if we could take a serious look at this, it would be, I think, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions,
No.
Council?
Well, we can do that in miscellaneous.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, approval of the minutes of the July 17th meeting. Any corrections or changes? Okay, then they will be accepted. Go
I
ahead.
had one question. On new business in the meeting minutes in our packet, it shows that there was no objections on B and C, and I thought that, my council member Susan Meadows objected.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, there, I'm looking at the meeting minute notes from new business, B and C, and it shows that nobody objected to the agreements with
Oh,
Cooper County
that's right.
Clerk.
We have the vote wrong.
Yeah, you have the vote wrong on both of those?
Yeah, we'll fix the vote.
No on both of them? You did, didn't
Yeah.
you? Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else? Good find. No consent items. Presentation of accounts and claims on page 7.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the council of the city of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the city of Boonville which have been allowed by the council at the regular meeting thereof on August 7, 2023. The sum of $572,816.18. General fund, $265,906.10. Sanitation, $39,771.77. CIP tax, $12,060.03. Waterworks, $130,081.65. Capital projects, $6,010.18. Wastewater, $97,878.19. Tourism, $9,818.01. Gaming, $7,264.17. Parks and Water, $776.90. Timber sales tax, $3,249.18. Economic Development Projects, $0.00. Section 2, the accountant is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on the respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $572,816.18, being the total amount of money being appropriated. This ordinance shall take effect and be in force from and after its passage, first reading on August 7th, 2023, read for the second time this August 7th, 2023, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve these accounts and claims.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Hold on, let me get my paper clips. Sorry. Coward. Harville.
Yes.
Elbert.
Yes.
Venable. Davis.
Yes.
Atkinson.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Passes. Unfinished business. Second reading of bill number 2023-023, authorizing a lease agreement with the Boonslick Heartland YMCA.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, authorizing and approving a lease renewal agreement by and between the City of Boonville, Missouri and the Boonslick Heartland YMCA Incorporated for the purposes of operating a chartered YMCA and associated activities at the Johnson Fieldhouse, providing an effective date therefore and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Is there a motion?
I move that we approve this.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
I have a comment I'd like to make. Is this-
We just need a second
No, go
first,
ahead.
and then we'll
Go
have
ahead.
Yep.
discussion.
I'll second.
Steve, second. Now you can go.
Okay, thank you. So when I first saw this on the meeting minutes about a month or so ago, I reached out to Kate, and I was just curious and wanted to make sure I understood everything. But my curiosity was how much money we were spending on the building, or what we have spent over the last 10 years. And Kate sent me an email, and I'll be happy to forward that to all of you all. But over the last 10 years, it comes up to about $193,900. And some of those were some big ticket items, like I think there was something for the pool that was $85,000. That was a big chunk of it. But my biggest concern is, I'm of the standpoint, I don't think the city should be in the real estate business and leasing these buildings. I would much rather see us get rid of them and get out from underneath of it altogether. Just a personal opinion. I have no problem of the extremely cheap lease that, you know, is on here. But, I mean, if we're gonna continue leasing it, I think there's like a $300 max that the YMCA pays on any single issue. Is that right, Kate?
I thought that was increased.
I think it's actually, I think it's like $1,000, but I know I talked to Barry about this because he asked me, whatever had been in the lease previously, Matt has never asked for repairs. The only things typically I can think of two offhand were the big ticket items. One was the Dectron unit, which is the humidifier for the pool. And then the HVAC unit went out, maybe that was an 18. I can't even remember now off hand, but I think it was like about 20 grand and he asked if we could split it. Okay. So, again, you know, I don't know what Matt's plans are and but indirectly, we're never changing light bulbs over there. I mean, anything we have done outside of the sales tax that we passed specific to the Kemper improvements that are included, Johnson Fieldhouse is being included, Matt rarely asks for anything. So I think there is a limit in there, but honestly, you haven't asked me for anything this year, so whatever repairs they've done in-house.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I just wanted to bring it up as a point of discussion. I mean, has nothing to do with the Y. I'm a member of the Y. I fully support it. I think it's a great place, and I mean, from what Matt said earlier, they obviously do a lot for the community. I just, looking at it from a business sense, doesn't make sense to hold on to that. I don't know. I would almost much rather sell it to them for $2. Be out from underneath of it. Anyway, just all in there.
Good thought. Anybody else with a comment?
Does this lease agreement also include that daycare and XL that they bought?
No, those are separate. So they bought those themselves, so they're the owners of those. It just refers to Johnson Fieldhouse, which prior to the city owning Kemper, they were already there cohabitating with Kemper Military School at the time. I don't know how long that they had been there previously, but I think maybe since 2000. Does that seem about right? Mm-hmm. So 3 years prior to us purchasing it, they were already cohabitating with Kemper, and I think the council at that time in 2003, which no one was around this table, so maybe, but I think they felt at that time the Y was a worthy thing to keep at Johnson Fieldhouse. So
It's accurate.
You kind of have, the way I feel, you kind of have to look at stuff like a partnership that helps the community sometimes. And sometimes it takes that to make it work. So that's just my 2 cents.
When you look at the number of kids served, I think it's behooves the city to partner, just like Steve said, to help support our youth.
Si, did you have something?
No, I mean, what they do speaks for themselves. I mean, when it was 190,000 over 10 years.
Over 10 years. So I mean, say 20,000 a year. I mean,
Yeah.
We're not talking a lot. Just.
Yeah, I think for what the community gets out of it, you know, I do like the idea of getting rid of liabilities. I love that idea. But I think for 20,000 a year, it's not a liability. It's a partnership. So, yeah.
And part of that came from the campus, trouble with the campus when they went bankrupt, and the city at that time decided to buy the campus. So once we own it, then you have to do something with the buildings, and particularly with not-for-profits. The cash required to buy, like the facility, and that is a heck of a facility, isn't there? So when we started to get people into the campus. We did it by leases. The school from Sedalia, that's a lease.
Yeah.
And it's a lease arrangement. Because we're doing business with people that don't typically have cash. They got funds coming in and rolling, so they can afford to rent as opposed to buy. And I think that's part of the history that we're dealing with here. They had an opportunity, the city had an opportunity to get the Y in there. And they did it with a lease. And it's a pretty attractive lease, by the way. So I think that's part of it.
Quick question.
What did I miss?
Well, I mean, we're looking at the past, and 20,000 a year that's one thing, but when you're looking at a building that size, that old, does anybody do like a 5-year plan? Will they look at things and try to estimate what it's gonna take to keep that in repair? Because just because it was 20,000 for the last 10 years doesn't mean it won't be a lot more. But it's good to plan to look at things.
Well, and I think for you and Susan and, I don't think Barry was here, but you were here when we did the 5-year Kemper sales tax. That really was part of the impetus that, not only just that we needed more childcare, we were trying to get the library, but also that Johnson Fieldhouse had been sort of underlooked at in terms of ongoing maintenance, which is, why back in 18, when they did the 5-year sales tax, $1 million of that is earmarked for Johnson Fieldhouse improvements. Those things are all on the table. We tried to take a run at a smaller project last year, maybe 2 years ago, and we just didn't, it was kind of caught up in all that weird bidding world where not very many people bid, and the people that did put these astronomical prices just to see if you would bite. And in consultation on that, we decided that we just held off. We did just a few things. We did the LED light conversion, and we did a few other improvements upstairs in the gym. But everything else, all the bathrooms, we just said, we'll just wait until we do the bigger project. Right. And so then I think once we kind of get it back up to that, I agree. I think we need to stay on top of it because it is an old building and sometimes they can get away from you quickly.
Yeah. So do we have money set aside right now for the future?
So on that Kemper sales tax, you have to remember that we were doing that on a pay-as-you-go plan. Okay. And the Johnson Fieldhouse renovations were the last thing in line because Matt needed a place to move all the kids who are in the after-school program and a place, I believe, to kind of temporarily house the Y activities while we shut the Y down to do that big renovation. So it's at the end of that. So in terms of general reserves that we have earmarked for Kemper, I can't tell you that we have any. I think, again, that would be a conversation where if we knew something big was coming, kind of like the Dectron unit or something like that, or just a bigger repair when it came to the budget year, we would plan it and spend it out of gaming just like we do any other building, just like we did with HVAC at State Fair this year. But I think certainly Matt has a good pulse on the building and the needs, and hopefully this sort of significant repair and renovation will get us to a point where we'll be at a good stable point, and then we can look at the things as they go on.
It's just good to have a 5-year plan. Okay.
Right.
So I know, Kate, when I asked you for this information, you had mentioned that it was kind of difficult to pull together because of all the different funds that gets paid out. Is there a way maybe for the next council for 10 years from now that can be tracked to where have a better idea of exactly what all is going there? I don't know if that's too much to ask or not.
No, I mean, I think for future, I think we've kind of already laid some of that groundwork because, there is a line item in the general fund and it's like Kemper related, but that can be any Kemper. I mean, it could be vandalism at the bathrooms. It can be grass seed at the field. I mean, it could be anything that comes out of an 01. Thankfully on the printouts there's more detail because you try not to get buried down in too many accounts because then they just overwhelm you. Right. The other thing we have is in 05, which is the CIP account. Several years ago, and they used to name everything, so if you look on old printouts you would see it would be like a 60-inch lawnmower is one item. and then truck. And then, but the way our software system is, if you change the name, you lose that name forever. So you can't go back 10 years to be like, when did we buy that lawnmower? So we've broadened the categories a little bit more to try to narrow it down for not just today, but future. So like we have Harley Park improvements, Kemper Park improvements, broadly speaking, equipment. So if we're trying to look now, we can just look at the equipment line item and be like, oh yeah, there's where we bought the lawnmower. So I think in the future, because we have Kemper Park pulled out as a line item also in '05, that will help us. And then the gaming one, it is a little bit tricky because the way that budget works, a lot of line items get smushed into what they call the MP&I, major projects and initiatives. But this year, with the budget, again, we kind of pulled out all of the capital spending, or the most significant capital spending, I'll say, anything pretty much over 5,000, and talked about where all the funds were. So and I've tucked that in with my budget book, and Kim has too. So again, there's a record of that, so it's a little bit easier, I think, in the years following. And I suppose, you know, as technology changes and increases, there might be a point, and maybe there is even now, and I'm not as hip on in code as other people are, that you could keyword search like Johnson Field House and find everything. It could, maybe.
Okay. So then Johnson Field House, and then the spot where the college is, and then the park behind it, is that all just kind of lumped in as Kemper?
Yeah, pretty much. But there's always a description on our bills. So like when we print out the bills, and you guys are welcome to see them if you ever want to see them, but it'll say, you know, grass seed at soccer field. So okay, I already know where that is. So that's kind of, you can see a little bit of a description, and so long as our descriptions are pretty good, then you can kind of pull it out. But in 10 years, someone might be like, what was that?
Right. Okay. That's fair.
Anything else?
I appreciate the discussion. I mean, everybody made some good points, and so I just wanted to talk about it. So, thank you.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
Roll call.
Harville,
Yes.
Elbert,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Atkinson,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Okay, new business. First reading of bill number 2023-024, approving a development agreement with Kemper Apartments LLC. It's on page 29.
An ordinance authorizing the City of Boonville to enter into a development agreement with Kemper Apartments LLC.
Okay, thank you. Item B, consider resolution number R 2023-12, authorizing the application for funds through MoDOT's TAP program relating to Phase 1 Highway 5 sidewalk improvements. Starts on page 42.
A resolution authorizing the City of Boonville's application for funds through MoDOT's Transportation Alternatives TAP program, and authorizing the submission of an application relating to the proposed Phase 1 Highway 5 sidewalk improvements. Whereas there are no sidewalks on Highway 5 Ashley Road allowing for safe pedestrian access. Whereas development along Highway 5 Ashley Road has increased and the need for safe pedestrian access is necessary. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, at a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Boonville held on August 7, 2023, the City Council endorsed the submittal of the Transportation Alternatives Program application for the proposed Boonville sidewalk improvements along Highway 5 Phase 1. Section 2, the City Council further acknowledges the TAP proceeds could include 80% of the project cost, and the City of Boonville will be responsible for any remaining cost. Section 3, that the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized to execute and attest said agreement on behalf of the City of Boonville. Section 4, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval. Passed the 7th day of August 2023 by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion.
Thank you, Susan.
I'll second it.
Second, thank you, Barry. Okay, discussion, thoughts?
Quick question, Kate. Is this like a yearly thing then? So like each year, you're gonna try to continue more towards town? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Might be every other year, but
Okay.
yes, I mean,
But that's the
we'll
end
just
goal.
keep taking the bites out of
Okay.
the apple and hopefully get all the way up to where that Main Street Ashley Road intersection is.
Cool. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Harville,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Yes.
Atkinson, Young,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
All right. Item C. I'll try and say this the way it's written. Sippin', strollin', rockin', and rollin' event. Oh, gosh.
The event permit is in your packet. Nothing has significantly changed, I'll say, from last year when we did this. They're asking for a lifting of the open container prohibition from, basically from 4th to 6th Street and High Divine, so.
Okay.
One for those who are not here.
No,
Can I
they will
have,
find a way to a recycle bin.
can I have a motion so that we can discuss this, please?
I don't really need a motion, again, if we're just in general agreement, then we'll proceed with the
do
resolution
it.
at the next council meeting.
Okay. All right. Does everybody understand that, what Kate just said?
I think we need more beer.
Okay. You guys got something that you want to say, quickly?
Thank you.
We'll get it quick.
So the event, once again, is co-efforts of the Boonslick Area Chamber of Commerce and the Boonslick Regional Libraries Boonville Board. We've made a few changes in it this year based on, last year was our first year, and we can't thank the city enough for all the help we got last year, and it went over so well. So I'm Ken Herlinger, this is Mary Pat, and I'll let Mary Pat mention any of the changes. We're looking at a little different area on how we're going to exhibit, or have our exhibitors, and some of that.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your tremendous support that we had from the city and the council last year. It was a great event. We had just over 500 people here in Boonville on Saturday from 3 o'clock until 10 that night. Tremendous responses and wonderful evaluations and lots of good suggestions. So there are a couple of amendments that we'll make, and Kate, you'll have to help me about how to do this officially. Last year we asked for no parking on Main Street and actually had the vendors on Main Street in the parking areas so that they could service the public on the sidewalks. One of the things that we learned through evaluations is that people had a wonderful time, but it was very noisy, and some of the vendors shifted their locations back onto the sidewalk instead of in the street. There was, in some respects, a little bit of a safety issue, even though there were barricades on the street. And so what we have looked at is moving vendors to, instead of along Main Street and restricting parking on Main Street, to leave that open, especially now that Highway 40 is open, which it was not last year. And, just the traffic that goes through in any event, if there would be something on the highway on I-70 that would redirect traffic, we really felt that it was prudent to really look at another option. And also, on behalf of the merchants, we had some merchants that really were thrilled with the way everything went. Most of them saw an increase in sales that day. In fact, I didn't talk to any of them that didn't. But what we are planning to do, and the map that you have, shows that in the half blocks on Spring Street, on either side of Main Street, and the half block on Morgan Street to the alley, in those three areas on the east side and then on the west side. But Morgan Street not all the way to the alley, so we don't restrict access to the parking lots that are there. So that's just a little bit shorter area. Then we're looking at having our headquarters still down on Main Street. We're going to move it from an area where the concert was last year to the grassy area by Berkey's, and requesting that the streets be closed that are Chestnut Street from Main to 4th, and also for part of the day on 4th Street from Spring to Chestnut, because we're going to move the concert from the grassy lot over on the corner of 6th and Chestnut to the city lot by the Hayne House. We saw some wonderful activities there and how they were handled during Heritage Days. We've had a lot of discussion about how the setting is just much more in keeping with what Boonville wants to offer and to showcase. And by actually restricting traffic on 4th Street for that one block, it also allows for pedestrians to be in and around the Hayne House without having to dodge traffic. Food vendors will primarily be near the Hayne House on Chestnut, but we'll also have them a couple down the street, as not indicated here yet because we don't have that placement yet. But they will be there as well as water that was complimentary to those that were here. We've actually looked at suggestions too from those who attended and are asking for a broader area for the request for lifting the open container restrictions. And the reason for that is people indicated, they couldn't go back to where their car was parked, they didn't feel easily. And with the concert being around the Hayne House, we envision that people will have folding chairs and things of that sort in their car. And it's really just to allow people in and out. If they have packages when they're shopping, they can take things back to their car, and not be concerned about not following the law. And so that's why we have the area from High Street to Vine Street and 4th Street to 6th Street. Another possibility and the reason we're going to Vine Street is because in case of rain, there's some discussion now about the possibility of moving the concert then to Thespian Hall. So that's why we've done that extra block. We're looking at fewer parking lot closures and for a shorter amount of time. Really, the city lot on Chestnut Street is the main focus from 6 a.m. to midnight. Other parking areas would be just restrictions from noon to 3 in small parts of 2 parking lots in the city so that we can get vendors in, unloaded, and have their vehicles placed, and then open it to the public so it can be used. I think that the list of street closures and the times relate to setup and relate to hours of operation. The sipping, strolling, part of it is from 3 to 4 for VIPs and 4 to 7 for general public. We then asked to 8 o'clock for the closures just to allow people and vendors to finish up sales and also then pack up. We were very, very pleased at how well everyone cleaned things up before they left. It was really wonderful. We're open to any discussion, and I will say that the benefits last year, not only for Boonville in the advertising and people who came, who were amazed at what we had here to offer. We did generate about $12,000, just a little over that was split between the chamber and the library, and the money that the library received went to the building project of moving the library down to the Kemper campus. Kenny, is there anything you'd like to?
I think that's covers it pretty well.
Anybody got questions?
The change of not having no parking on Main Street is awesome. I love that. That's the only feedback I got, was just they did want to be able to park on Main. I was working a tent down at the Hain House during Heritage Days, and it was amazing down there. So I think, having an event at the Hain House is a great idea. So
We have some wonderful resources downtown, and again, the goal is to bring people downtown, help the merchants, and I do think the parking there weren't a lot of objections, but there were a couple, and
yeah.
I think beauty's in the eye. Let me get this right, the beholder.
Any other questions?
I will say that we will be looking for volunteers for the event, and we welcome any of you who might like to help.
Nice slip in.
Thank you so much.
Mention the number of volunteers we had last year.
Oh, my goodness.
Impressive.
We had actually just over 100 volunteers who worked on this project. We staged it so that the hours that they actually worked were not the entire time. Now, there were some volunteers that worked, from 6 in the morning until midnight. But as far as shifts, we tried to do it so that they were 2-hour shifts so that people could come and work and then as a volunteer and then enjoy as a participant. So, and it took a lot of manpower and a lot of effort, but we tried to make it look just easy and fun, which it was.
Good for you guys. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Reports of standing committees. We've got the Street, Alley and Sanitation Board on page 51, and then the Board of Public Works on 52. Any questions or thoughts? Okay, reports of city officials.
Just to go full circle with the Sippin', Strollin', Rockin' and Rollin' event, we will, Mary Pat and Kenny will work on getting door knockers through tourism that they'll put on the affected residences. And then also there's one potential location that's within 100 feet of a church, so we're going to notice that church in accordance with their ordinances, and then all of that information will be at the next council meeting, kind of wrapped up in the resolution to lift the open container and authorize the temporary liquor license. So we'll get that taken care of, and you can look for it on your next agenda. I just want to correct something myself from the last meeting. Josh and I, in regards to the fire at Hale Ridge, Josh and I were under kind of an incorrect assumption, I guess I'll say. His insurance on the cart shed is liability only, so it will fall to us at our insurance company. So we've begun the process of working with our insurance company for rebuilding the cart shed and the cleanup. So we're working through those things right now. I just wanted to correct that. And then also just a little update. There's been kind of a little bit of a shuffling at the city. So for people who pay their water bill in person and are used to seeing Tina at the water billing desk, she has slid over and taken the full-time animal control officer position, and she's currently training and learning up there. And then we've got 2 new people at water billing, Kim Burnett and Jody Hedberg, and Jody's starting this Friday. Kim started last week, and so they are getting trained. So kind of just a little do-si-do at the city. But anyways.
Good. I have no comment. City Clerk? Okay. Any miscellaneous?
Well, I just have one thing real quick. So I got an email, and I think Ned, you might have been on it, Kate, you might have seen it, about the Morgan light on Morgan and Main. Any thoughts on, I know Jeff had reached out, responded to the email about it's on order. I just didn't know if there's any thoughts, or, I mean, I don't think there's really a lot of change. I just was going to throw it out there and see if anybody had any ideas on it.
As soon as they can get fixed will be great. We did do we already did one light box last year, and that was the one on Spring Street. Okay. And I do think actually that, because we kind of got similar complaints about being stuck on Spring Street. I think it has helped. We don't get nearly as much on Spring Street, so hopefully that will help.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Fluoride, how is that tested? I mean,
Defer to Russell.
I'm sure it's tested sometime.
We have an expert.
All right, I know.
Right.
Fluoride testing is done twice in 2 different locations. It's done every day.
Right.
Every day we're
That's what I
testing
thought.
fluoride.
Yeah. Okay,
And it's tested in the raw, when it comes out of the river,
okay.
and then it's tested before it goes out.
So before
And the
and
raw
after.
water actually contains a 0.2 parts per million, maybe a 0.5 parts per million.
Yeah.
We will add just a touch to bring it up to a 0.7 or a 0.8 parts per million.
Got it?
Yep. Well, I figured that there was some kind of testing.
Oh, yeah.
It's done every day in 2 different locations. It's also done, we collect samples 4 times a year at the city service building, and that sample is then sent to the state health lab in Jeff City, and they test it, and they compare their numbers to our numbers. Quality control.
Yep.
So, I guess, why do we add to it to 0.8 or whatever? Was that just something you got? I did look online and did a little research quickly while he was here, and it does look like we have to say if we're gonna change that. We don't have to agree that we're adding anything or we're taking anything away. So it does have to go through a huge notification process if we change that. But I guess why was the decision ever made to add?
I was told in 1958, the city council voted to do this, to add fluoride to the drinking water. And I think the same process has to be done to shut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very lengthy process to get it removed.
Had to
Yeah.
do with teeth and kids.
And
Has there been any communication, like from your company or whatever resources you have at the state, deeming whether it's a negative or positive, or if the positive outweighs the negative?
You mean as far as using fluoride?
As
or-
far as using fluoride?
No, we've not heard anything. Additional information, there's a secondary maximum contaminant level of 2.0 parts per million, which I've never seen. And then the maximum contaminant level is a 4.0. And that's when DNR steps in and says, you are in violation. But we don't get anywhere close to that.
I mean, I know it was one gentleman's concern, but I guess if we have enough people that express a concern, we look at it again. I mean, I've never heard anybody bring it before me as a councilman, so. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, if enough people step forward and think highly enough about it, I think we would consider something, but, all right.
Thank you, Russ.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay,
Thank you, Russell.
thank you.
Any more miscellaneous? Steve?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Who's got second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, get up and go.
Go home.